Katie Hunter from MMA UK, and I'm here with the Maverick, Michael Chiesa. Michael, thanks so much for your time this evening, or this evening here, afternoon for you.
Yeah, it's good to be on. Nice little afternoon out here in Chicago.
How you doing?
Doing really well. Getting excited to fight. I've been out of town training for the last 2 weeks, so definitely excited to get home and just tie off some loose ends on this training camp. It's been really good so far, and I'm really looking forward to July 6th.
Because you train all over, right? I've seen you train at VFS Academy. I know I've seen you at 10th Planet in Vegas before. So tell us where you'll be doing this fight camp, all the different places.
Well, I'm based out of Spokane, Washington, so the majority of my camp has been at home. I first went down to San Angelo, Texas, to go train with my old team.
Oh, the sound's gone. Oh, you're back. Oh, the sound's gone. Sorry, Michael. I can't hear you. I still can't hear you. Shall I hang up and try again?
Hold on, I know what the problem is here.
I can hear you now. Oh no, not now.
I have What about now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
There we go. Sorry about that. I was getting the oil changed on the car, and they turned the car on, and the Bluetooth turned back on.
Oh, so you were going in there.
Yeah. So back to what I was saying.
Do you want to start again?
I left. Yeah, let's start again.
Is that all right? Do you mind?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me get my headphones on, so that way you don't hear the wind out here. Yeah, that was a little technical difficulty there.
I'm sorry. Sorry to make you start again.
No, don't even worry about it. This is all I have to do today is just media and train. So I'm like, hey.
I really, really appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, no problem. Here we go. Now we're back in business.
Ready?
Yep. Let me. I'm walking to the car right now. Sorry about that.
Looks like a beautiful day there.
Oh yeah, it's really good. Aside from the wind, it's pretty nice.
I love Chicago.
I do too. It's a great city. All right, let's do it. There we go. How about that?
Perfect.
Much better. Nice.
This is Katie Hunter from MMA UK. I'm here with the Maverick, Michael Chiesa, who's overcome some technical difficulties to speak to us. Thank you so much, Mike.
Yeah, it's good to be on, and sorry about the little Bluetooth technical difficulty we were having, but I'm glad that we got it sorted out now. Do it.
I'm delighted. So you were telling me about your training camp for fighting Diego Sanchez at International Fight Week on the 6th of July. Tell us where you're training at the moment and everywhere you're going to be in fight camp.
Perfect. So, I've been doing most of my camp back home in Spokane, Washington at Sick Jitsu with all my teammates, Sam Cecilia, Austin Arnett. We got some really good up-and-comers coming up, like Terrence McKinney and some other guys. Austin Arnett, a lot of good guys. So my old teammate Tyler, who's been a big part of my career, one of my really close friends, he left our camp because he's in the armed services. So he got restationed down in San Angelo, Texas. So I left to go train with him for a week because I just couldn't imagine going into a fight without training with him for at least a week. So went down and trained with him for a week, and then we decided to come to UFC 238 in Chicago. And, I've spent a lot of time training with Mike Valley in the past. These last few years, I've usually come out here for a week and just trained with him and his guys. And so that's what brought me out here to Chicago. And I'll go home tomorrow morning, and I'll be home for a week, another week training with my team. And then I'll head to Vegas 2 weeks before the fight to finish my training camp at the Performance Institute with Bo Sandoval. I really want to tie off some loose ends with my strength conditioning. Conditioning and cardio is going to be a really big part of this camp. So I've really been pushing myself, and I want to get that last final hard cardio push done under Bo's watchful eye. He usually sends me all my workouts remotely, so I do all my workouts through the PI staff still. I just do them wherever I'm traveling, whether I'm at home or whatever. So I just want to be under his watchful eye for this last week, and then we fight, and then we get our hand raised. So I'm really excited for this fight. I'm really excited for the challenges that Diego presents. And it's going to be a tough fight. So I'm really excited.
Because you've been really respectful about your opponent. Obviously, I know legend gets bandied about all the time, but he's obviously from the original Ultimate Fighter. It's amazing he's still fighting, but he's every time you count him out, he comes back stronger, and he's beaten some amazing people recently. What's it like to be fighting him?
For me, I love the opportunity to fight guys that have won the Ultimate Fighter. A lot of people don't know, unless you've been on the show, you don't know what kind of pride you take in from being a part of that and having that be a big part of my journey here in the UFC. Originally they were trying to schedule me with a ranked opponent. It was looking like Neil Magny once his fight got booked, and there really wasn't any other options. They came to me with Diego Sanchez, and I didn't even bat an eye about it. I follow the sport closely. I know that he, without even having to look him up, I know what his last 5 fights were. I know he'd won his last 2. He's back at welterweight. Both of those guys that he beat have similarities to my build. Both are really big guys, big welterweights. So I said yes instantly. To me, this is a champion versus champion fight. This is the Ultimate Fighter Season 1 winner, the original, the first guy to ever win it, versus the guy to win the longest season. Our season was 13 weeks, so it's like 2 particular tough champions getting to square off, getting to fight. And I think that, me and Diego, we've talked before. Surprisingly, we've talked about fighting each other before. We've also, sent each other messages through social media, encouraging each other, before his fight with some of his guys. I've messaged him and hey man, good luck. I'm a big fan. I got a lot of respect for the guy. But I showed him my last fight. I have no problem putting the fanboy aside, putting that cordial side of me aside, and being the competitor. So I'm really excited for this opportunity to fight Diego. I know that it's going to be a big weekend for him. He's getting inducted in the Hall of Fame. I'm happy for him. If he wasn't fighting me, I would really want him to win. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be a part of his swan song. This is my fight. This is my night to win.
You're here to spoil the party.
Yeah, you know what? I don't hate to spoil the party because it's a very selfish sport, and it's all if I have to choose between me or him, I'm choosing me. So either way, I'm excited to fight, and it's gonna be good.
But that ties in nicely to me asking you about your journey in the Ultimate Fighter, because I think you'll agree that some seasons of tough are stronger than others. And there's a lot of great guys that came out of your season, and you had to beat some really tough opponents along the way. James Vick still, big in that division, and obviously you beat Raging Al in the finale. So that was when you first came to our attention. It was at a time where tough was still watched globally on such a massive scale. Tell me what that was like. Tell me what it was like becoming famous overnight, and tell me what it was like being in there and all that kind of tension, and also that making weight several times in such a short period of time.
Well, on the weight issue, that I was on the Ultimate Fighter right after I turned 24. So I really wasn't as big as I am now. At the time, fighting was just like that was like my hobby that consumed my life. I worked a full-time job. I
What
worked
did
for
you do?
I worked for Budweiser. So I used to slang beers. I was, throwing kegs, throwing cases of beer, and I would work from 6 in the morning, get off at 2:30, and then it was training mode, and I would just train. I'd go to bed, and that was it. So I never really lifted weights or anything. So it was still really hard for me to cut weight. I was still a tall, lanky guy. I wasn't nearly as big then as I am now. But the success overnight was my journey is a lot different than others, just because of everything I was going through with my dad passing away and things like that. So coming off the show, it was just a blur. I didn't really kind of realize the magnitude of it until I got home and was like, I'm from a small city, and it's just like my whole life has changed, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful that I had a dream, I had a vision, and I really made it come to fruition. You know what I mean? And I can
Yeah.
honestly say there was no stroke of luck. It was just like persistence and hard work really paid off. I mean, you hear that kind of stuff growing up all the time, and sometimes you let it go in one ear and out the other. But I was able to make that happen through that very simple formula. And I still have a good relationship with a lot of the guys from the show. I actually saw James Vick at the Philly show, and he
Yeah.
had kind of talked a lot of crap about me after the show, trying to get a fight. And I come walking up to my seat, and I'm like, he looks at me and he looks down. And I'm like, James, we're not even in the same division anymore. We can be friends, So it was cool to talk to him. And it's funny because even when we were on the show together, when me and James were scheduled to fight each other, we were playing pool one night. And this is when we knew we were fighting each other. And he was just like point blank right to my face. He's like, I'm going to beat your ass in a couple of days. I was like, oh, thanks, man. Nice. But, we're still good buddies. And I'm still really, through the whole process of the Ultimate Fighter, the person I probably stayed in best relationship with is Al. Al and I, I'm not trying to sound corny. Al is a special person to me. He was my teammate. He was kind of there firsthand, seeing a lot of these things unfold in my life outside of the show happen before, in front of all my teammates. I had a few meltdowns and stuff, and he's a guy that I really kind of confided in a lot. We had a few special moments on the show, and I would still feel the same way even if he beat me in the finals. It's not about it's not about winning and losing. It's about the relationships you built on the way. So it was just an experience. I'm very thankful that my journey to the UFC went through the Ultimate Fighter. Whether I had won it or lost it, I'm glad that I got to experience that. It's like college for the UFC. You really kind of learn the ropes of this business with the cameras and the media and the pressure. There's a reason why the Ultimate Fighter has shaped a lot of the champions that we have today.
Yeah. But that's it must have also helped, when you're fighting Diego, and you've got a lot of respect and time for him. You've already fought someone who was a lot closer as a friend to you. Obviously, Al was your teammate. That must have been really difficult if you were the closest to him. It was your dream or his to win it.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes down. But, this is a sport at the end of the day. I mean, there's going to be times where you don't like guys. There's going to be times when you're hyping a fight and you're talking shit. Pardon my language, talking crap. And I kind of got caught up in that hype for a little bit and paid the price for it. And I'm just kind of back to my old ways, just being a humble blue collar guy, winning fights. Whether I don't like a guy or not, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I got respect for any guy that's in the UFC, anybody that I'm going up against. I got the utmost respect for them. I acknowledge what they could possibly do to me. And, Diego's just a guy that, how can you not have respect for the guy? If you are a fight fan, if you love this sport, this is just a guy that it's hard to root against. But in this instance, I have to root against him because he's fighting me. I have to beat him. He's got to go through me. You know what I mean? That's just kind of the way. That's kind of the way it's all going down. But I'm really excited that him and I get to fight each other on such a big stage. Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Do you feel like all the neutrals will be on his side because of that? Because he's come into the end of his career and You know, like, do you feel like anybody without a dog in the race is going to be on his side? And do you think that will affect you at all?
Hey, look, the guy's got a huge following, and I wouldn't blame, if he gets cheered and I get booed, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about that. He's got a lot more time in the sport than me. He's had a lot of phenomenal fights. He's done a lot of great things that warrant him being a fan favorite in a lot of his fights. So that doesn't affect me at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When the cage door closes, that outside noise, it doesn't do anything to me. So, he has earned the right to be the fan favorite. And I don't really think that there's ever been a fight that he's been in where he hasn't been a fan favorite. He's earned that. He's earned that through the wars. He's earned that through his time on the show, through his title run, through his crazy, outlandish personality. You know what I mean? It's hard not to like the guy, but for 15 minutes, I gotta disrespect him and beat him up. But outside of that, I'm just the same as the rest of the masses. I respect the guy a ton, and he's a pioneer in the sport.
Yeah. So you've obviously moved up from 155 now, but you went on a great tear at 155 before the Kevin Lee fight, which obviously had that controversial stoppage. I put out something on my social media earlier asking people to inbox me with any questions they had for you, and like that came up a lot. Now that time has passed, your thoughts on it, your thoughts on Yamasaki as a referee, if you want to give them. He might referee you again in the future, so you might not want to give them.
No. Mario Yamasaki, I'll tell you right now, Mario Yamasaki will never, ever officiate one of my fights. That will never happen again. And I can mark my words. I will jump through whatever hoop I have to keep that guy away from my career. You know what I mean? If I'm gonna lose, let me lose fair and square without any intervention from some guy that's got a track record for officiating bad fights. So Mario Yamasaki will never officiate my career. I don't even know if he'll ever officiate a UFC fight ever again. But in
I
terms
don't think
of
if
Kevin,
Dana's got a say in it, he will.
no, it just won't happen. You know what? The UFC wouldn't do that to me. And I know it's not up to the UFC for these types of matters. It's about the athletic commissions, but you know what? There's a real sense of concern, that I have a just reason as to why I don't want that guy having anything to do with any of my fights.
Have you ever refereed a bout of yours before?
Yeah, I've repped a lot of fights actually. I've cornered a lot of fights. My coach has a promotion. So, I've officiated plenty of amateur fights, some professional fights. It's a very stressful job. And I know that I'm, jumping the gun, talking a lot of shit about the guy, but he's kind of earned that. He's got a track record of poor decisions while he's, referees, the referees have our jobs and our lives in their hands for the time that we are competing. You know what I mean? And it's just one of those things where he made a poor decision. Had Kevin beat me, I was in a really bad position. Let's just be honest. I was in a bad position. Dude's choking me. Dude is on my back. He's beating me up. He's doing whatever. It's a bad position for sure, but it's not the time for you to intervene. It's one thing if a guy's getting knocked out. It's another if they're in a submission. There's just a lot of inconsistencies there, but you know what? You live, you learn. That's in the past. Someday Kevin and I will get a run it back. I don't know if he's staying at 170. I don't know if he's going to go back down to 55. But that's a fight that could happen again. And if our career trajectories get back on the same path, I welcome that fight with open arms. And I'm a realist. He's a really young guy. Kevin's really young. So I'd rather I want him to win a couple fights. I want to beat Diego. I want him to win a couple fights. And I want to do it before I'm too old because he's young. I'm like almost 10 years. I'm like 5-6 years older than him, and I'm a realist. I'm like, let's get the rematch going sooner than later if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I want to fight Kevin when I'm in my prime. I don't want to anything I can do to keep it more in my favor. He's a tough guy. He's super tough. I mean, the guy he's fought for a title. That would have been my fight had I won. So it's
if the pill to swallow.
Yeah, I'm over it now. But if our career trajectories get back on the same path, I welcome that fight for sure.
To run it back.
Yeah.
So the next time we saw you was the fight against Anthony Pettis, and it was the one that you missed weight, I think, that made you want to move up.
Yeah.
Dolce actually came out recently and said that Lockhart tried to kill you.
Who said that?
Mike Dolce.
I think that Mike Dolce should just mind his own business. There's a lot of things, if anybody can bash Lockhart about that, it's me. Nobody else can, and I have nothing but praise for him and his team. There's a lot of things going on behind the scene that made that bad weight cut happen. Sorry about the dogs. I just walked in the house. It was either 10 or 12 days before the fight, I broke my foot. I wasn't able to run. Running is a big part of cutting a lot of weight, obviously, and that's something that I should have addressed better. I probably shouldn't have let myself fight, but having missed the first opportunity to fight Anthony with the Brooklyn incident, and then breaking my foot, I didn't want to lose the matchup. That's not on Lockhart and Leith. Lockhart and Leith, I got nothing but love and respect for the guys. They do an awesome job, and it's unfortunate that they're in the position they're in where they're kind of like, they're the buffer for these situations. You know what I mean? If you hire Lockhart and Leith and you end up missing weight, you can pin it on them. That's what you pay them for. You know what I mean? So it's not their fault if a guy eats like crap his whole camp and shows up for fight week heavy. What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? That's not on them. It's not their fault I broke my foot. You know what I mean? Right when it happened, I called him. I was like, this is what we're dealing with. We got to do something. That's not on them. And I hate that guys like Mike Dolce are quick to jump the gun like that. Yeah, he's got a perfect success rate of getting guys down to weight. But when's the last time you've led somebody through a weight cut in the UFC? Probably not since Ronda Rousey. And there's a reason for that. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to dive into that whole battle. I had a lot of respect for Mike Dolce, and he really made some very tasteless comments after the Brooklyn incident about myself, about Rose Namajunas, and I have zero respect for him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And actually, he actually does Rasad Bektik's weight cuts, so I take that back. He still has one guy on the roster. It's whatever, but I just don't think that. I think that sometimes he says very tasteless things, and he's really quick to put people down. And if anybody has the right to say anything negative about Lockhart and Leith, it's me, and I don't. I got a lot of respect for the guys. I consider them good friends of mine. They've been instrumental for a few fights in my career, so he can go fuck himself.
I love that.
I said that as respectfully as I possibly could.
Respectfully, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, respectfully, go fuck yourself.
So on the happier topic, you obviously then moved up and beat Carlos Condit. So maybe, Henry Cejudo called himself a legend killer at the weekend. But if you go on and beat Diego Sanchez, maybe you're the new legend killer. What was that like?
Fighting Carlos was a very interesting situation because this is like, I have like pictures from when I was younger wearing like his walkout shirts and stuff. Like right as I was just getting in the sport, you know what I mean? And I was a fan of his before I ever even started training, just from like watching him on WEC and stuff. So it's definitely a very peculiar situation, but I pride myself on being a good competitor. I have no problem putting those types of feelings aside and focusing on myself and winning. But it was definitely an interesting situation, especially because I kept seeing him during fight week, and I'm like, hey, man. And he's just like looking at me like, fuck off, kid. I'm going to beat your ass. I'm like, I can't help it. You know what I mean? But, I'm not out here to kill legends or anything like that. I have a different, everybody's got a different mentality. It's one thing I will say when you fight somebody that you're a fan of, and I'm a fan of Diego. I'm a fan of Carlos. When you're a fan of a fighter, that means you acknowledge what they're good at. You like a certain fighter because, if you like Damian Maia, that means you like his ground game. You like the way he submits people. If you're a fan of, Kamaru Usman, you like the way he wrestles. You know what I mean? When you like fighters, that means you like things about their style. So being a fan of a guy like Diego, being a fan of a guy like Carlos, right off the bat, I acknowledge their strengths and I watch them attentively as a fan. But being a fighter as well, as I'm watching these fights and seeing these things that I enjoy about them, I'm able to process it. So, it makes it easy to train. I don't have to go back and dig through film for Diego Sanchez. I already know what he's good at. I already know what I like about him, and I already know what I got to prepare for. So it kind of makes the preparation a lot easier. But it's still a tough fight. I'm still excited.
So leading nicely on, I'm going to go into some fan questions that I didn't manage to cover when we were just having the discussion then, but somebody's asked what your dream path to the belt would be and who you'd like to see along the way. So I guess that feeds nicely into the people you've already met.
There is a fight that I see happening in my path to the top, and it's a guy that nobody likes. Everybody hates him. I'm sure you can guess who it is. But for me, I'm not saying it out of disdain. I'm saying it because there's just a little funny storyline between me and this guy. But it would be Colby Covington. And I say that because, look, I know he talks a lot of crap. And some of the stuff he says I don't like either. He said some kind of crappy things. But Colby, his college wrestling coach, Kevin Roberts, is brothers with the guy that was my high school wrestling coach. So I'm Colby's tough. He's legit. We talk in passing. You know what I mean? Always have. No disrespect. The guy, he's tough as hell. But it's just a funny storyline. So if my path to the title could go through him, I think it would just be a funny fight. Cause I was telling Kevin, I still see his old college coach back home in Spokane. I always tell Kevin, I'm like, man, what happens if me and Colby had to fight each other someday? He's like, dude, don't do that to me. I'm like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, dude. You can corner Colby, and I'm gonna have Dusty corner me, and we'll let you guys battle it out in the corners. So.
What's he like in real life? Is that whole persona that he puts onto the public, is all of that fake, or is?
Here's the thing. When someone goes out in the media and is as brash as he is, he's never been like that around me. It's not like I've spent hours upon hours with the guy, but we've seen each other in passing, we've talked, I haven't seen those sides of him in person, but he's just a really confident guy, and that's how he chooses to portray himself. And I think that his relationship with Donald Trump seems to chat people's asses. I could really care less. You know what I mean? He's a fierce competitor. The guy's tough. You got to acknowledge his skills. But yeah, I've never that. I don't know what kind of word I'm trying to come up with to exemplify his persona, but I've just never gotten. He's never admitted that around me. You know what I mean? He's never admitted that type of personality around me when I've seen him. He's always been super nice. So he's a good guy in my book.
Is he always with girls in bikinis when you see him?
Well, I haven't seen him in a few years, so maybe he is. I have no idea, but maybe if I go down to Florida, I've always talked about going and training with Jorge Masvidal someday. So maybe if I go down and train with Jorge, I can see if he's out golfing on Trump's golf course with a bunch of girls wearing bikinis. If he is, freaking more power to him, man. That's awesome. Good for him.
More power to him. It must be hard to concentrate on training with all that going on.
I think if all that's going on, I bet there's probably a reason why his cardio's through the roof. He's probably getting some extra cardio rounds in at home.
So this is quite random, but I've wanted to know this myself. Is there a meaning behind your pineapple tattoo?
Yeah, there actually is. So when I was on The Ultimate Fighter, we had this food list, and you'd write what food you want or whatever. And somebody ordered pineapple, and instead of bringing a jar of chunks, pre-cut chunks, they brought a real pineapple. And Cristiano Marcelo, my teammate, we were making a joke. He's just like, man, you throw a 4-pound young Brazilian pineapple at somebody, it's harder than a brick, So we had this big joke with pineapples, and we would bring a pineapple with us to the fights, and we'd set it on our bench. And Master Tong took tape and made glasses and a mouth and put a face on it. And it was just kind of like a big joke for us guys on the show. And so, like, when I got off The Ultimate Fighter, I was like, I really want to get a tattoo for the show, but I'm not going to get like the Ultimate Fighter logo tattooed on me. That would just be kind of corny. So I just kind of thought like, hey, I'm gonna do actually I'll show you. So I have the X and the V stands for 15, Roman numeral 15, and
Yeah,
then
for your series.
yep, and then the blue on the sides is because we were the blue team. So it's like my little indirect tattoo for the Ultimate Fighter, and I put it on my left foot because since the pineapple is a lot harder than a brick, I put it on my left foot for my left kick. So if I kick you upside the head with my left kick, I got the power of the pineapple behind it.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's actually really sentimental.
Yeah,
Great
it honestly is.
question.
People probably see it like, what the fuck's the pineapple tattoo for? You must like it. I'm like, no, it's just you wouldn't know unless you watch the show, I guess.
And so we did speak about the Kevin Lee loss and whether you'd like to run it back. Obviously, you would like to sooner rather than later. And this is a question from me. Has Roy Nelson commented on the fact that you imply that he's a fat version of you?
No, he hasn't. But we've actually joked about it. Going back to the Ultimate Fighter, when I first got off the Ultimate Fighter and I went to my first UFC event, it was when JDS fought Frank Mir, and Ariel Helwani grabbed Roy after he knocked out. I think it was Dave Herman. After he knocked out Dave Herman, he grabbed me and we did this funny incognito little interview. You can find it on YouTube, but it's me asking Roy Nelson for beard tips. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure people have said it to him a ton as well, that I'm like the small version of him. But it's just funny. Love Roy too, by the way. I've got to train with the guy a bunch, and I don't really look like him anymore. I don't have the mullet going.
And that's really upset me because I got caught in the rain earlier, and I thought I'd get home in time to do my straighteners and sort my hair out, and they broke. They've died. My husband tried to fix them, and I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm sure Chiesa will appreciate a crazy barnet.
Yeah, for sure.
Now you've had yours all tidied up.
I know, I'm a new man. I'm turning over a new lead.
I needed warning for that. And finally, I'm sure you hate talking about this, and I don't know how much you're allowed to talk about it, but the one question that bombarded my inbox was about the bus incident. Yeah. I'm sorry. Out of all the things you've done in your career, how annoying. But is there an update on that? Are you allowed to say anything?
There's nothing I can comment on the matter. And even if there was something to say, it's pretty insignificant to what's most important, and that's the fact that I'm fighting Diego Sanchez July 6th. But yeah, there's just nothing to say about that. Yeah. Do you
feel like the fight with Anthony Pettis would have gone any differently had it happened on that day, or is that just a mind wreck that you don't want to get into?
That's something I probably shouldn't get into. Yeah. Sooner or later, someday, I'll be able to, maybe say some of the stuff. But yeah, that's just maybe save it for a different day. We'll see.
Well, make sure you save it for me.
There you go.
It's been amazing talking to you. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I've really, really enjoyed it. I'm a massive fan.
Thank you.
It's just been a real pleasure talking to you and asking you all of the stuff that I've wanted to know for a long time.
Good.
Oh, one more question that I wanted to ask you. When I saw you in July after your fight with Pettis, you were on your way to your after party. You were wearing the best sunglasses I've ever seen anyone wear, but I didn't want to talk to you because I didn't want to, you weren't probably in a very happy place. Where were those sunglasses from? I love them.
Well, if I was on my way to the pool party, I was still probably drunk from the night before, so you probably wouldn't have been able to understand anything I said, anyways. But
I was pretty drunk too.
There you go. They're called blenders. It's like a Facebook ad popped up for me, and they're called blenders. They're fairly cheap, so check them out.
Oh, I will. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So, best of luck with the rest of your camp. Hope everything goes well. Stay healthy. This is one of the best fights on the card. The card is absolutely stacked. One of the guys that trains. Well, he trains at TriStar now, but he's a BKK fighter where I train at home. Arnold Allen, he's on the card as well. He's fighting Gilbert Melendez. It's going to be an epic fight. But it's just
good one.
The card is absolutely stacked. It's actually going to be the first pay-per-view in the UK. So.
Oh, nice. Good. That's good to hear.
Well, maybe not. Everyone's going to be looking for a stream, I think. But we'll still be watching you.
Good to hear.
Thanks so much, Michael.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Yep.